ya.
All right, y'all.
So we're doing this thing.
This is a special edition of the TY,
Come
y'all.
on in here, young fella.
This is the TY.
Hey, you know, we always taking it outside. And hey, TIO. What's my man's name? Hunter. It's my man Hunter. Listen, we're here in the Galleria and we're getting ready to do this podcast and do what we do.
And then, we're going to see the Book of Clarence. Now, y'all done heard some things about it, but we're going to tell y'all what y'all need to know after we watch this today. Have you seen the movie yet?
I have not personally seen it.
Okay. Pay attention. We'll get back to you in just a few minutes.
If we come back looking like,
Y'all know why.
you know what that means.
All right, people. Here we are at the end of the Clarence. I gotta tell you,
Come on.
we're gonna wait till we sit down in the studio and give y'all what we think about this. I might. You can give them a prelim if you want. I can't.
You know what? All I got to say is I'm glad that we came out.
Oh yeah.
But the movie,
Post. And the movie was okay. Stay tuned.
we got to talk, y'all. This is going to be very interesting because it can be very harmless. It can be very harmless. It can be like, oh, it's a beautiful thing. But is that good enough? Whoa. Yo, people, you know what we always say? We got work to do, y'all. Told you.
Told you.
Welcome to the TY Podcast.
Are we losing our identity as a black church?
Suicide to them is an actual out.
Told ya. Well, all right.
Hey, what's up?
It's us again.
It's been a while. It's been a minute. It's been a while, y'all. Welcome to the TY, the famed TVM podcast. Told ya. You know what? We're here, and this is a big day. You know, this is like pre-Super Bowl Sunday. We gonna date this one. This is the day before the Super Bowl. And
Y'all have a dog in that fight?
No dog in the fight.
No,
neither do
Not at all.
I could care less about football.
Unfortunately, I shouldn't even say this. Y'all forgive me.
I know you ain't got no bets on this.
I'm a commander.
Okay, I was gonna say. I thought you was gonna say I gotta wait.
So it's been a minute for
Y'all
you.
pray for me. Y'all pray for me.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the Commanders. Next year, y'all. Next year, y'all.
We've been saying this 30 years now.
Yeah, no stars allowed. Boo, hiss.
I am there for Usher and Usher only. That's all I care about.
Lord. You talking about in the church, Usher? Or
No.
Okay, you talking about, okay.
It's a football game at an Usher concert.
There you go.
Yeah,
The Usher concert, a football game broke out, you know. But, you know, praise God, though. And this is a Super Sunday. I mean, this is a Super Saturday for us because, you know, this is a special TY podcast. We're doing this one because there's some stuff going on right now. And we told y'all before that the whole purpose of this podcast is if the world's talking about it,
We gonna talk about
the
it.
church needs to talk about it. And we want to keep it real, relevant, and raw. And we want to make it relatable to what's going on. So right now, there's something going on around in the
It's a
movie
discussion.
world, in the discussion world.
Before we jump into this, let's introduce ourselves so the folks at home will know who we are.
There you go. Absolutely.
Hello, y'all. I'm that one dude, Roy Noel, First AME Church. Just happy to be here. And, you know, I want to thank y'all for actually paying attention to us, taking that time out to actually listen to us.
Absolutely.
Praise God. Praise God. Praise God. I'm Brother Stacy Holmes, Rochester, New York. Love this church. Love this this church family here at First AME Church of Manassas with the venerable pastor.
Go ahead, bro.
Reverend Dr.
I like them big
Etoria
words. Go on.
Goggins. Where did I get that from? I don't know. But just excited to be here.
I'm Alana Gibbs. Sorry. Just, I love movies. I love writing. I love creating. So I'm really looking forward to this talk about this movie we're going to get into. And yeah.
All right.
And I'm Phyllis Lennis, itinerant elder in the AME Church, writer, mother, New Orleans Saints fan, cook,
She had to get that in there.
gumbo extraordinaire,
Bragging about whatever.
all the things. Just happy. I'm a movie buff as well, so I'm excited about the discussion we're going to have. Yeah.
And what is that discussion, sir?
Hey, we talking about the Book of Clarence. Oh my goodness. You know what, y'all? I know y'all have heard about it. And, some people call it blasphemy. I remember when I first saw the first trailer at a movie theater, and the trailer came out and it was like,
What'd you think?
what is this? Is this a comedy? Is this a faith movie? What is this? And you know what? We went and saw the movie last night. Roy and I checked it out.
Yes.
And I came out the movie saying,
What is this?
No change in response.
So I did the same thing. I saw it in a trailer in the movie theater, and I saw it and I said, "Is this a spoof? Is this supposed to be comedy? Like I don't want to see something that makes fun of that era, of that time frame." So I think a lot of people may have had some preconceived notions about it. Yeah.
I had not seen the trailer, but I did read a synopsis of it. And I didn't know quite what it meant by what it was talking about. It probably wasn't the best description of the movie, but what I read from it was just, something pretty general. I was like, okay. I mean, it's got Lakeith Stanfield, so I'm already here for that. Sure.
Yes.
So I took a chance and said, I'm gonna go see it because I love his acting. I think he's really talented, so that's why I chose to go see it.
And and that's exactly why we're doing this TY podcast, because this is so crucial, because it is one of those things where it's a simple thing. It's a movie. It's entertainment. It's Hollywood. It's we see it every day.
Good or bad, we gotta remember all movies, all forms of art is impactful. And so, and like you, Lana, I didn't see a trailer either, and I think that even adds another layer to the perspective, because I had nothing preconceived when I went in there last night. I had no idea. I didn't know the actors. I didn't know anything about it. So literally, I walked in blind.
Yeah.
And boy.
And there was some conversation. So I think prior to, because of the trailers. And so I think there are a lot of think pieces already out on social media calling it what, blasphemous or antichrist. It was almost extremes to where you almost felt like, is this something I should even put my eyes on? Should I even entertain it and allow it into my eye gate or my system? So I think that was some pushback people felt as well, especially in the Christian community. Yeah.
Well, that's why I think this is so important, because that is the truth. And I did listen to one review of the movie, and the gentleman who reviewed it, I respect his different commentaries on different things that have to do with Christian, but he said straight up front, I haven't seen the movie. I have not seen the movie, and I'm not going to pretend that I did. He said, but what I'm going on is the interviews I've seen with the director and with the people that have made the movie, and some of the content that I know that they've discussed as a part of it. And so I think that's why this discussion is so important, and that's why we went to the theater last night, spent $45 for 2 chicken tenders, which is like, oh my Lord. But anyway.
Well, when was the last time y'all went to the movie?
No, this is
pretty
crazy.
Standard.
This is good. Well, no, not for no. Well, anyways, but the bottom line is, we went to the theater, and you guys have already seen the movie, and so we wanted to make sure that we were talking from at least a personal perspective of seeing, and not passing judgment on what we heard, and all that other stuff like that. And I have listened to some of the interviews with the director, the writer, the editor, the dude that did all the music. I think his name is
James Sullivan, but he's literally the prince of movie making. Because Prince, his first album came out, I think he did all of the instruments. Yeah. So this is what this guy, James Sullivan, did. He wrote the score.
That's James Seymour, I think his name is.
Seymour.
Right.
J-A-Y, I think it is.
Yeah, it's a different way, because he's British. I think, he's British. Yeah.
He wrote the score.
He did everything.
He wrote the
and he came out of the music. He came out of the music world. Yep. And he's always done films his whole life. But it's crazy because, and we're going to get into this discussion, but I think that the warning, and those people that yell, yo, blasphemy, is because there are some things that make you go, whoa, like, whoa. And we've had this discussion already. When you're sophisticated enough and you have enough knowledge and you do have some sort of relationship with God, the Holy Spirit is going to prick you and tell you, yo, there's something up about that.
Right.
But what if you don't know? One of the things I've always noticed is that the only thing worse than being lost is not knowing that you're lost. And if you don't know what you don't know, how do you know what you need to ask so that you know?
Well, I would hope no one would go to the Book of Clarence looking for answers.
But unfortunately, I think the majority of the folks out there are doing it because that's why they're targeting who they're targeting.
What happened last night? Last night, a little quick story. So we're at the movie theater, and the young gentleman that was serving us, very fine gentleman, good server, and we're talking, and out of the blue, Brother Holmes says, "So are you a believer?" Here's what do you mean? So do you believe in Jesus Christ? Mm-hmm. Says, no,
I'm going to be honest with you.
I said, I'll be honest, I never heard of him. You could have knocked me over with a feather. I grew up Christian, so...
Well, we have a generation that's not. We have a generation whose parents are not churched.
Or even I wouldn't say worse than that, but even more severe than that. There are folks that believe a whole lot of stuff because of what they've maybe experienced, what they've heard, or what they're told. That ain't got nothing to do with...
Well, we have people in the church that believe certain things that's not in the Bible.
That's not in the Bible. But if you don't, once again, if you don't know, you don't know. And we talked about this with some of the mega churches where the pastor falls and the church falls away. But them folks that were coming, they were given deliberately. They were faithful.
Yes.
But if I don't know, what are you telling me that in the scripture in the Bible where he says, "Depart from me, I never knew you"? Jesus, didn't we serve in your name, Jesus? Didn't I give to the poor? Didn't I give my tithes and offering? He says, "Depart from me, I never knew you." Now, if you don't know that, you don't know. So that I think the dilemma, I think, with this movie, The Book of Clarence, is that this will be the closest thing and the only thing that a whole bunch of people are going to see.
And that's scary.
And one of the
So let me ask you this. There are other movies that come out that are faith-based, such as...
Passion of Christ.
Even more so. A little simpler than that.
Ben-Hur, 10 Commandments.
Not biblically based, faith-based.
Oh, faith-based.
Faith-based. There was one with Priscilla Schreier, the War Room. You remember the War Room?
I've heard of that, but I haven't seen it.
with the praying grandmama.
With the praying grandmother or the praying mother-in-law, right? Put scriptures up and pray these prayers. Some people would say that was manipulation. So do we give pause because it's black people doing it, or do we give pause when it's a white movie and white shows and white actors? Do we question it more because we see our community, right?
The director addressed that in one of his interviews.
Yeah.
And I thought he was so on point. Because I'll tell you, when I watched the movie last night, I thought, what a waste of $45. But because of there were so many things that were cliche that it was driving me bonkers.
It was pretty preschoolish in a lot of ways when it comes to the faith. I mean, there were a lot of things that were like, really?
Not even the faith, the culture. And listen, like I said, I told you earlier, the dichotomy that we saw. Every one of these Christian people were black, and the evil Romans were all white. What's with that juxtaposition? That's not real life. And not every white person is an evil devil.
You know what I found interesting? I think that the movie itself was trying very hard to be shocking, and in that attempt, it kind of was not shocking at all. Like there was, like I was saying, with the cliches, you know, certain things about trying to be like, I guess, purposely controversial, but it kind of came off as more so not really mocking the faith or knocking, you know, that belief, but just kind of trying to make it into something that is not. Like, I don't know, it just seemed kind of like trying to use the basis of like biblical, you know, what's in the Bible to say something, but not anything that's really, based on what that's about. Like, it's not really telling you anything about the actual faith. It's just kind of using it as a springboard for some kind of shocking, like,
I think that was
scandalous.
Yeah. I think, but
That's what kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
going back to when you were saying, and then I'll jump back to that. Going back to what you were saying in regards to, it was black folks and then white people were when you think back to when I think back to my community, I didn't have any black police officers. The people who patrol my community did not look like me.
This is true.
And so in that way, it was relevant, but it stands out because we're watching it. But Romans were white.
I mean,
it was stark because you didn't see any other colors. It was black and then it was white.
Well, there were a couple white dudes that were slaves, and I was like, oh, look at the white dudes as slaves.
But there were no light-skinned brothers, though. I couldn't figure that out.
He was albino.
It was deeply melanated because there were no light-skinned women either.
No,
you know what I mean?
no, exactly.
Everybody was deeply melanated.
There was plenty of like black on black, conflict in the movie as well. It wasn't just people who were white and black fighting. It was people who were black fighting as well.
Maybe because I couldn't figure out this piece of it. What was the purpose or the intent of the constant weed smoking?
It was legal.
I just think it was, again, part
every
of
good
the
herb.
thing to be shocking. Like, oh, we seen a person who's like a Christian or whatever, somebody who's a part of the, like not the person, the main character wasn't at the movie. He didn't have the faith at the, about the movie. But his friends who I guess were like, sort of, I guess, faithful or had that faith in Jesus, they were doing that. So I don't know, maybe it's just a thing of like, Christians or people who were followers of Christ are smoking. And it's like, I don't know, it just felt one of those things, again, to shock you. And it's like, I mean.
But once again, though, that's part, I think that's part of the danger of all this. And I think that's the part that really touches my soul, that hurts my soul really, is that we don't see the danger. And even like you said, he addressed the whole issue of, and like you said, about seeing people of color in these positions. Mm-hmm. And that's the biggest argument for him, is that he wanted to, and like this is the same director that did The Harder They Fall, which was the Black Western. Mm-hmm. And so his thing is taking stuff that we grew up with, putting us in it, because we've never been there, traditionally in Hollywood. And that is true. I mean, black folks have been exploited. I used to love Bonanza. The only time you saw an Asian dude was he was Hop Sing. It was like,
he was
Sing.
very characterized.
That
Bonanza reference was very generational.
Yeah.
Your side of the table knows.
What is that? What is that? I have never heard of it in my life. What is that? I'm over here like, oh yeah, but what is that?
See how she slipped in the Asian singer?
I'm just shaking my head like, yeah, you're right, but
you poor deprived children.
I remember it was a TV show. I have no idea who these.
Anyway, let me say, it was a program.
I may have to go.
Here we go.
Wow.
But the point I'm trying to make.
Real relevant and wrong.
Bring it back to like.
The point I'm trying to make back in the 1900s.
Yes.
Way back in there. But the point is that the director brings that fact up, is that I wanted to intentionally. And are people saying that's blasphemous just because there are people of color in positions that we're not used to seeing? Now, I agree with that. I hear that. I love that. I'm in the media business. I know the exploitation. We know everything. We know all the exploitation films. You heard of Shaft and Superfly?
Yes.
Okay, you know their movies. Okay.
I've seen that.
Her mom used to watch.
I know. Her mom used to watch it.
My mama on blast.
But the point is that, yeah, we know that the exploitation is real. We know that Hollywood is a trip, and we know the things that are happening. We do know this. However, that does not give a license for people then to do some of the stuff that's going on. Because the bottom line is, when you look at this movie in particular, and when they talk about peace God and the peace God nation, what is it? The Nation of Islam, right?
No, 5%.
The 5% Nation of Islam. Yeah. This is a real thing.
But who said this movie was a Christian movie? And why are we claiming this as a Christian movie? The clarity needs to be, this is not a Christian movie.
The director himself said out of his own mouth,
exactly,
this is not a movie about Jesus Christ, and it is not a Christian movie. One thing that I did like what he said in his interview, when he said, all of those that are screaming blasphemy, I would challenge them with this. Do you know the book of which you speak? And then he goes on to explain that even that one character, Thomas and his brother, and biblically Thomas is really a twin. I've read the Bible I don't know how many times. I didn't know that. So the guy has a very valid point, and I'm not sticking up for him, but he does have a valid point. He said he didn't write this movie for Christians. He didn't try to attract Christians. The Christianity aspect of it is just an aside.
Right.
And
It's not
so-
the main focus of
No,
the movie.
No, you can't. But you can say that all you want. But no, the movie. I mean, come on, man. It's like the movie.
Just because it has Jesus in it does not make it a Christian movie.
I agree with that, but then what is the movie about?
It's about the transformation of
him becoming a
Clarence.
believer.
Of Clarence.
Of him becoming a believer. That's how it
he
culminates
said-
him
he
becoming
says
a believer.
I agree with
He
that.
says knowledge is better than belief.
And knowledge is better than belief is a part of that
And
whole
he
five
had
nations
an
of Islam.
experience with Jesus that substantiated his knowledge. He said, I know. That's the difference. I don't even know if he became a Christian. We don't know that.
never said
All
it.
we know is that
Say.
there was a transformation.
And I think that once again, I believe that the danger is when you don't know. And for those folks that don't have any type of access
I think this could be a great tool
to real information.
to have the conversation, to start the conversation about salvation. I think it could be a great tool. I don't think it is all inclusive of your salvation and your salvific belief.
You know what I think also? What you said about those who don't know and all of this, that's a very good point, and here's why. If you talk to a 5%er, they are very knowledgeable.
Absolutely.
They speak and they recite daily mathematics.
Absolutely.
It's really hardcore, hard-hitting stuff.
Absolutely.
If you talk to a Jehovah's Witness, these
Jehovah's
are some
Witness.
hard-hitting people.
They know.
You can say what you want about them, but they know. If you talk to a Muslim, I'm telling you, this guy can
Absolutely.
give you chapter and verse of the Quran.
So how come
Absolutely.
they don't get the pass not to know what they know?
well,
How come as always
so my
we don't
next
know
question was, when
what
you talk
we
to-
know?
When you talk to Christians,
What do you know?
what do you know? That's our problem. That right there is our
I
problem.
think the question is, how do you know? Like,
For one thing-
what is it that makes you believe that? Like, even for Clarence, like, the way he came to his belief is how he came to it. And people don't always come to that belief in the same way. People find different ways to come to that salvation and come to believe that. But the question is how? Because now is there one way to figure it out, or does everybody have a different way to come into that belief? Like, how do you know?
Every other faith studies.
Yes.
We don't study.
We don't even push study.
No.
You listen.
We push
one thing-
attendance.
Exactly. For 2 hours on Sunday.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And that's where our problem is, I
Yeah.
think. If we can get more believers to actually take an active part in the belief structure, to have some skin in the game, to put some time into it. Listen, I didn't get to calculus 2 by skipping trigonometry.
Come on.
Well, that goes back to the premise of what Christianity is all about anyway, is that it's about a relationship with God. And the only way you build that relationship is through spending time, it's through learning, through asking questions, through getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and not just taking that surface level stuff and running with that. But most of people do that because that's the most convenient thing. That's the easiest thing. That's the path of least resistance. I mean, it's like, oh, that sounds good. He said it ain't my
energy.
fault. He says, I'm going to be rich. I'm going to be healthy. I ain't never going to be sick. I'm good with that.
Then we can't be mad when someone makes a movie that challenges that.
I sometimes
That's
think
actually a good point.
our belief structure is, sad to say, is a little too liberal. If you look at other belief structures, for example, the same 5% or FOI, the Fruits of Islam, they were required to dress appropriately at all times before they stepped out of their house. Muslims, they must bathe for 7 times a day or whatever. There's always structure involved. What do we say in the church? Come as you are. Don't worry about a thing. I got you. And the prosperity theology, not only come as you are, pray to me and I'll give you all the money you want.
Oh, no, give me a bigger
Give me a
tide.
bigger
Give me a bigger
plane.
tide and you go get that new Escalade.
Yeah. See, that's this is so.
Where's my Escalade?
Right.
You ain't tired enough yet.
I ain't tired enough yet.
But these are the things that we got to really wonder about. So yes, yeah, I agree with everything that's said here about the possibility of impact with this movie, Clarence. But after listening, because I tell you, you notice I'm speaking different now than I was this morning when we were talking.
Yeah.
That's because I watched his both of his
Watch the interviews with him. Yeah.
And so I gotta say, even though I thought the movie, Charlemagne the God said that, what's the dude's name? Keith?
Lakeith Stanfield.
Lakeith Stanfield said, oh, he should be put up for an Oscar.
I wouldn't say all that.
Yeah, I didn't see Oscar performance in this at all.
I wouldn't say that either.
Yeah, but the fact remains that what the director said was that this is a movie, just like you said, where I'm trying to take us to a different space, put us where we have never been before. And I was like, that's reasonable. You don't.
We haven't seen a movie like that. We haven't seen a movie in biblical times with melanated people, deeply melanated people, where they weren't ambiguous and they could have been Spanish or something else.
And I love the one reference he made of Ben-Hur, was it Ben-Hur? With Yul Brynner as the Pharaoh. He says, I just can't imagine nobody looking like Yul Brynner being a Pharaoh. Not really, coming from there. And he's right. The
Bible is full of people of color.
Yes.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But once again, I mean, I agree with all that, and I think it's Theo even talked about the fact that when they went over to Europe and they did the tour over in Israel and stuff, and the images that they saw over there were black disciples, black, and it was like, what?
Black
Are
Madonna.
you kidding me? Yeah, absolutely. And the movie even references that with we ain't gonna do a spoiler for you, but the movie references that, and yeah, this is all true. All of it's true. However, we're still in, I think, a danger zone when we give something a pass just because we ain't seen it before. Because just like you said, Jehovah's Witnesses they could tell you more about your belief than you can.
Yes.
That don't mean that's
How
right.
are they getting a pass? I don't think we're giving them a pass.
I was going to ask him.
But no, I mean, because I think everybody says, oh, come on, you can't call it blasphemy just because. No, you call it blasphemy because what you're trying to say is that, well, one of the things in particular, and one of the brothers talked about this, was even the way they depicted things in it. When they depicted the disciples in this book, the book of Clarence, the disciples were these highfalutin guys that didn't nobody touch.
He said,
but they walked through and like he said, look at them. Don't nobody mess with them. Or they this, they all that, they all powerful.
So you think there was no mystique about the apostles? Now they came. They were they were fishermen, but they were walking with Jesus. You think there was no mystique about them?
They was walking with Jesus, but they were also being persecuted everywhere they went to.
Wait, so with your point though about,
and it was almost like it was an elitist kind of attitude. Not at that
time. After Jesus was killed, they were being persecuted. But
it was like it was like a different, a completely different image of
that
what
we've been taught.
Yeah, they would have been taught.
But who taught us that?
Okay.
Well, who taught us what?
Who taught you that disciples were meek and mild as they walked with Jesus?
I never believed that because I knew that there's a fisherman, so I'm sure that I'm sure they had some choice words and everything else. So I'm sure
I think where he's going, and I'm not trying to speak up for you or explain your words, but when he says give them a pass, when you have places like Focus on the Family and Tim.
Oh, they say, it was great. The black people.
But again, I don't trust these people anyway.
Are these the same people who watch Tyler Perry and watch Medea jack up scripture?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so their movie critique helps.
But even going there, that's the same people
that people give Tyler passes all the time.
Exactly, and the same thing. Tyler Perry's doing sermons. He's doing church services. He's doing everything else.
But he's saying his movies are Christian.
But exactly.
This man is saying it's not.
Exactly. That's my point. Why do they get a pass? That's the whole point I'm trying to make. Is we seem to say that it's great because he's a black man doing this.
It's not a pass. What it is that we are trying to grab onto this movie and claim it to be a Christian movie,
and it's not.
And I think that's where the mistake is.
I think if we clarify this is not a Christian movie, we are the ones who label it as that. Christians are the one, and it's black. It's not because it's not a Christian movie.
And I don't know if it's all Christians that's doing it. Like I said,
Right.
it's those big name white evangelical groups who are saying that this is some kind of, according to one of the quotes that I think it was Tim LaHaye or one of them was saying, "Oh, this is a new spin that will give us a new open-mindedness about the Bible."
And I get them.
They for the Bible.
I get that they want to be politically correct, right?
I get it.
They want to embrace or whatever, but I don't even know if they've seen it.
This is true.
You know,
right.
I think that if we stop claiming people, movies, books as Christian, that will take away this disappointment when people fail, when people fall.
Disappointment.
It'll take away that notion that we are above certain things.
Hey,
So you call it a faith-based movie, but not a Christian movie?
I don't call it that. I call it entertainment.
Well,
I don't even call it faith-based because I don't know the faith enough to say that it's faith-based. I don't know what faith it is ascribing to. It was just a movie.
I can go with that.
Can I find theological themes in it? Absolutely.
yeah.
I can find theological themes in cartoons, but I don't say it's a Christian movie. I wouldn't recommend it as a Christian movie.
I think that's
There are
the
some
key.
other movies I think are phenomenal that can challenge our faith and make us think outside the box. But I don't think that this is one of those movies.
But I think that's crucial what you just said though. But because that's not being said. I haven't heard anybody come out and say that.
That's the problem.
I haven't heard anybody come out and say that.
Well, then we need to market this.
yeah.
Well, exactly. I mean, but
Because he said it last
official.
night after he got out of the movie. He said exactly that. This can be dangerous. And last night I was in full agreement with you. And then I heard the director was talking. And I'm like, well, the danger is in how we perceive and adapt to this movie. That's where, and that's not his fault.
And I agree with that.
It's-
And that's not his fault.
It is what we see and what we internalize.
So y'all don't believe that there's no intentional.
Oh no! Wait a minute.
Yeah, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Intentional what?
you don't
Say
think
the
there's no intentional.
The guys are 5%, Stacey.
Yeah, I mean, so that's what I'm talking about. So,
But I
so there's
haven't
definitely
researched that enough.
an agenda.
Yeah.
Let me
Yes.
put it that way.
Yes.
There is an agenda.
Yes.
And that's the thing about it is that
But he doesn't hide that.
there is an agenda. They don't come out and say that.
Yes, he does. Did you watch the the interview?
They ain't never say, "Yo, I'm with 5% Nation of
No.
Islam, and this is what we believe."
In the interview,
And the
he
book of
explains-
Clarence is based on Clarence, who started the 5%
Yes.
Nation of Islam.
When-
And I don't even know enough about Nation of Islam, so I'm not even going to speak on that because I'm
How
not.
did you learn
on that? 'Cause I didn't
about
hear
the name of the movie? From the interview. That's where he said that the name of the movie is named after Clarence. I forgot his last name. Who
Yeah,
started
Clarence
the,
Forte.
the
But I'm not speaking on that because I don't know enough about it, and I'm not disparaging anything because once again, God is able to straighten anybody out. But what I am saying though is that the danger is
Why is that
you
dangerous?
don't know.
Because that might be somebody else's faith path. Just because it's not Christianity does not make it dangerous.
Well, let me just put it this way, and we don't need to go there because I don't have enough theological training for it. But I do know one thing is true: every religion in the world could be wrong, but every religion in the world can't be right. So the bottom line is that there is an absolute truth somewhere. Now,
And there's some absolute truths that run through all religions. So
And what does the author, the director say in his interview? Y'all gotta watch this interview. In the interview, the guy says, listen, every one of us has a form of disbelief. I don't care who you are, because
If you-
you're
you can't have
Christian,
faith
you think
without
that
disbelief.
Everybody else is wrong. If you're Muslim, everybody else is wrong. And in order for you to believe that everybody else is wrong, means that you disbelieve what they believe. So, the whole premise here is, again, what is it they say? Train up a child in the way you would have them go? Mm-hmm. Where we're failing is in our training up, not by watching this movie. I don't know, I can't honestly say, like I said last night, I can't honestly say that this movie is an intentional detriment to the Christian faith.
Right.
I can't.
I don't
Not
think it is
anymore.
either.
Right.
Because, again, just like that young man didn't know Christ last night, and we told him to watch our podcast, and he's open. He's looking for knowledge. He's looking for something. It's our job to go with the Great Commission, go forward and spread the good news. If a Muslim guy catches that same young fella and teaches him about Allah, then he'll go with Allah. It always amazes me that everybody that goes to jail finds somebody in there. Either they find Allah, they find Jesus, they find Muhammad, why is that? Because now you're told to sit still and listen. And it depends on who they listen to. That's how they get, some of the strongest Muslims are the guys who come out of jail. Some of the strongest Christians I know are the guys who come out of jail. Because they actually sat down and read and they learned. Yeah. And that's this world that we live in today, this society, this whole social media nonsense, that I think is the biggest detriment. Because a lot of people are getting their religion from TikTok.
That's true.
And look at us. We're getting ready to dive right into it. First of all, this podcast, this is because we need to show that indeed the relevancy of it. Some people are going to watch this and they're going to say, hey, you know what? I don't need to watch the movie of Clarence because look at it. They all said it's a waste of time. Or they're going to say, well, I got to go watch this movie of Clarence. But the hopes, my hope, dream, and aspiration for the human race is that we will be more discerning, be more inquisitive, because we should never let anything deter us or sway us from our belief structure, if indeed is a true belief structure. Christian belief, it happens to be my belief structure. And I taught it to my kids. My kids hopefully will teach it to their kids, and on and on. That's not to say anything is wrong with
any of the others,
and Hinduism. That's just my thoughts. I just stepped down off my soapbox now.
I agree. It's the path that I've chosen. Doesn't mean that someone else's path that's different is wrong. It's just not right for me.
Yeah. So I guess outside of the message of the movie, what other thoughts do we have about the movie as a whole? Like how it was made, because we're all creators. So what do we have to say
I enjoy
about
the music. I think it went excellent with everything that was going on in the movie. I laughed, chuckled a little bit when I saw them smoking weed. I said, how interesting is that? You don't think about people smoking weed in biblical times.
And they probably
smoked more.
Yeah, they probably did.
And what's being smoked now?
I thought it was very funny. I don't know if it was a comedy. It was probably leaning towards that in some ways, but it was very funny. I guess I feel like they made light of a lot of darker, themes and try to, I guess, like make it more palatable as in terms of the message they were trying to send. But yeah, I thought it was very funny. Like the soundtrack a lot. Good acting. I thought the directing was really great.
Both mentioned the soundtrack, so he does reference that. He says that the director said what he does, since he wrote all the scores, he says, I want you guys to understand, I see music and I hear film.
Okay.
So he was able to blend the two together in a manner which both of you picked up on it.
Yeah.
The thing I liked about the movie more than anything else, though, was the scenery. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Man,
Yes.
I love that place.
Yeah.
Supposedly it's the fourth oldest inhabited city on the planet. It's the same place that they filmed Passion of Christ. But that, oh my gosh, the scenes in the alley, like the way the racing and stuff was going on. I hope I'm not spoiling it for anybody. If I am, I'm sorry.
I don't think you are.
Okay. Hopefully y'all seen this already.
Right.
But yeah, that to me was very, very unique. I mean, it was, I like what he said. He says, when we went there to drop all these black people in this city, I'm sure it was quite a shock to him. I said, yeah, it probably was.
Well, I mean, once again, I think it's a good thing to have it done, and to have somebody put a black face on some of this stuff that you haven't seen in the past. But I really do believe that we do have to be diligent to not just take things at face value. Is that there are agendas, there are things. And this whole, like the scripture says, Satan is a light. He comes as a light, and he sounds good. And he even references it. The director references the scripture that says, many will come in my name, to deceive and all of that. Yep. But it is up to the conversations about this isn't a Christian movie. But because there's a whole lot of people that will take this as a
that's true.
As a Christian movie. Or at least they gonna go with that thought.
That's where our job comes in.
And walk away.
There was a movie that came out with Sterling
K. Brown.
Sterling K. Brown a couple of years ago, and people ran to it and thought that it was a Christian movie and set up in a theater.
What movie was it?
Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I know you know. No.
Hold on. Can we pause so I can find the movie?
Go ahead. Take your time. In the meantime.
Hey, do y'all remember? They won't remember this.
Oh my gosh.
They're so young. But do you remember back in the day when you were watching TV?
Back in the day?
And they would say, and now we'll pause for station identification.
Right. We need a commercial.
I remember when the TV used to go off at 2:00. That ends the broadcasting day.
Okay, I'm ready.
That's done. Okay.
The user today.
Because we'll program.
Impatience. Hey, just move on.
So there was a movie with Sterling K. Brown. It was called Honk for Jesus.
That's familiar. I didn't see it. But
And
That
people
was
ran
the
to that
worst.
movie. And sat up in there was shocked, upset, and confused about what am I watching?
Just by way of total transparency, because they may be watching. So the girl who wrote that is a friend of mine's daughter.
Okay.
It's a young lady. And I was really impressed that she got the accolades that she did. But then I saw the movie, and I'm like, I'm sorry if you're watching this, but
oh God,
you already said it.
God, yeah,
it was a shock, but Christians ran to it because they thought it was a Christian.
Yeah,
we need to stop being
so grabalicious.
We need to stop grabbing at anything.
But that isn't that how it always works though? I mean, because
Hollywood tells us that something.
Well,
is
no,
Christian.
not because of Hollywood. No, I'm talking about because the enemy knows that people they need something.
I don't think I don't think your friend's daughter was the enemy when she wrote this movie.
No, but we deal not with flesh and blood. That's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about this person or that person.
But you're saying the enemy.
The enemy is the person that wants to take folks off of course.
Didn't put Honk for Jesus out. That's not an agenda from the enemy. That is an account of something that we all know.
It was just
some history of.
It was literally a viewpoint. What it was,
and it came from all of those falls and those things that have happened. Mm-hmm. That's straight from the pit of hell. That I ain't saying that the person that wrote the movie is that. I mean, but sin is all the evil in the world and everything else is because of sin. That's what it is.
I hear what you're saying. I understand that in regards to sin. I'm talking about the movie. And the movie and what's depicted in the movie.
But my thing is this though: if you name a movie "Honk for Jesus," what do you think people are going to think about? It's about. It's called "Honk for Jesus." This is called a book for Clarence. You can't.
But
put
it's
a
not a
like
Christian.
That.
It's not a Christian movie just because it said "Honk for Jesus."
But it's being marketed as such with that title.
No,
that title makes it seem like it is about Jesus because you're putting it in the title.
Which is so funny because if you watch the movie, you can tell that the intent never was.
And when you watch it, sure, you do get that. But the actual title, when you first see that title in a trailer or even like
when you see the publicity picture and they're sitting down at the Last Supper,
you'll see it and be like, okay, it's not.
I mean, and you can definitely say that through all of the facts and the things about it. It's not a Christian movie. It's not all that, but we know what the results are. And we know the fact that the majority of the people are not sophisticated enough or even know enough or want to know enough.
You know what I think this movie will actually be utilized for more, just like Hunt for Jesus. So if I were an empty vessel and I'm just looking for something, but I really don't want Christianity because it's...
I'm going to latch on to anything that sounds good.
No, but see, the things that I've seen in both of these movies, the points that you said, to use your words, the agenda, if you will, is more so to disparage Christianity. Because in the movie last night, one of the things that I noticed was that they kind of diminished the average Christian into basically a lemming who follows anybody anywhere.
Exactly.
They made fun of the ministers who are willing to, the ministers who are looking for just making money. And that's not what, all ministers aren't like that. They made fun of the church itself.
Exactly.
Just like
There was
Hunt for
definitely
Jesus.
some mocking going on in that
What
movie.
do we see in Hunt for Jesus? That minister was this big, flashy, fancy guy. He thought more of his clothes than he thought of his wife. And once he fell, then he realized, I got to do something better than this.
Right.
But that was disparaging the church itself.
See, to that point, I think that there is a bit of a problem with the way people do portray Christians in media. Like, I've seen shows that have portrayed, people who were characters in the show who were Christians, and they're like these really like, they're white usually. They're white, like really prissy, like, oh, don't do this, don't do that. They're very like preachy and very like judgmental. It's just the way that we get portrayed in media in general is just not that great. Like from back then even to now, even with this movie that we're talking about, there were some iffy portrayals of Christians in it. So I feel like if you're going to talk about...
Well, they weren't Christians yet because Jesus hadn't died. So
They were followers.
they were followers.
Well...
See, but you getting technical.
Yeah.
We have to be technical. But we have to be
Elder of
technical.
the AME
My
church,
overall
and
point,
you
though,
know
is that the way
this.
that
We
people
have
are
to be
portrayed.
technical about.
Right. I mean, but you know this. But that's what I'm saying. That the average person ain't gonna know that.
Yeah, it's true.
I
That's-
disagree.
The
The
average
average person is more educated than our grandparents were. The average person
This
is
may
more
be true,
educated
but once
than our
again, it's what are they
grandparents were.
educated with? They educated with stuff like the Book of Clarence.
With critical reasoning, thinking skills. They're more educated. I think you're not giving enough credit to the
Just out of
average person and their
curiosity,
thinking ability.
Would you like, with your thought pattern, you'd like to see the things like the Book of Clarence done away with?
Oh no, absolutely not. I wanted to see the movie, and I'm glad I did see the movie. But once again, the whole point I'm trying to make, I ain't trying to say it's a horrible movie and it should be banned from the show. No, of course not.
No, I'm talking about the premise.
And for a movie, okay, it's good. Okay, I saw it. Okay, I get it. And then listening to his interview, okay, I see what he's doing. I understand. That's cool. And even the 5% stuff, all the self understanding who you are, your power, your black identity, all that is great. I ain't got no problem with none of that. I agree with that 100%. And especially when you talk about what's happening in society, what's the history, how black people, how Christians have been portrayed. All of that is 100% true. But at the same time, the question still comes down to what are you being taught and what are you being told? And if you don't know, you don't know.
See, that's what
so that conversation of this isn't a Christian movie, that ain't the average conversation.
But that's the one that we should be. If
That's what it should be. Yeah, I think that's why we're doing this.
That's exactly what this is about.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
and as
absolutely.
Christians, we have to acknowledge that it's part of our job to make sure that
Absolutely.
disinformation, misinformation does not get out. That's the key.
Yeah, definitely. I'm between you guys both in terms of your thoughts, because I feel like on one end, yes, there is,
But you are in between them.
yeah, literally and figuratively, yes. But I do feel like, it's important for us as people to do our own work to know what is important to know. And people are capable of that. They can do that more than I think we're giving them credit for. But also, those who do already know have a job to tell us the right information. If they don't tell us the right information, then things are going to get confused. People who are trying to figure it out may get kind of caught between, oh, this is saying one thing, but this is saying, something else differently. So you got to have like the right aligned, information to know what there is to know and what's right or else, I think it's on us and it's on people who we're telling to
And I think
to
it starts
receive
with seeing the movie. It was a lot of people giving opinions that never even saw. The movie wasn't even out.
Yeah, they never saw the movie.
Do you guys remember the I'm a reader. The book The Exorcist? What?
The movie.
The movie, yeah. The movie.
Excuse me.
I didn't even know there was a book. That was way back in the 1900s.
Y'all forgive her, for she knows not what she did.
I know not the book.
Anyway, when the book came out, I remember, even before that one, there was another book before that called Rosemary's Baby. There was a movie. And they said, this was in the 70s, when Rosemary's Baby came out, they said, do not go and see this movie because it'll let the devil into your house. Who was saying all of this? Everybody that never saw the movie. Because as soon as they said it to me, I would say, well, how do you know how bad it is if you didn't see the movie?
Right.
Because if you did see the movie, that means the devil's in your house. See, you see that circular nonsense? We got to be careful of that. Everybody that was screaming blasphemy for the Clarence movie, 90% of them didn't watch the movie. How do you make that claim?
People said that the credit score was demonic when it first came out because we have to stop saying things that we don't understand are demonic.
Yeah.
Get some understanding.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you can say what's demonic because once you've seen demons and demonic activity, you can know that's not demonic.
Well, my old credit score was demonic.
So we can't just label everything that we don't understand. I think part of this goes back to how we view ourselves. Do we see God in ourselves? Now, do we see God? Do we see God in ourselves? And that
was a theme of the movie.
For so long, we've been taught that God doesn't look like us. God looks like the slave that was cleaned up in the movie. But when we start seeing ourselves and seeing God in us, we treat each other differently because I see God in you. I see God in you. I see God in my Jewish brothers. I see God in my Muslim brothers and sisters. When we start treating people differently, things will change. But as long as we see God as other, we'll never be able to
and that's part of what he talks about, and that's some of the good stuff about even some of the self empowerment stuff is that self identity, because the bottom line is a lot of the stuff that you're talking about, that's religion, that's man made, that ain't got nothing to do with God, that ain't got nothing to do with what God says. So what God says, and so when people talk about, well, Christianity is white man's religion, I'm like, that ain't my religion,
right?
So I ain't buying that. And it's even like what they talked about with Donald Trump and the whole thing when they say, and I saw an interview and the guy said, well, why is it, he was talking to a preacher and there's a white interviewer and he said, why is it that 80% of evangelicals, why is it that 80% of evangelicals support Donald Trump? And the pastor said, no, let's get it right. 80% are white evangelicals. Black folks are conservative. Black folks are evangelical. Black folks are Christian. Black folks are not drinking that Kool-Aid, so you can't just assume.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what we're saying. When you have these things like the book of Clarence, there has to be a corollary conversation.
There has to be.
Yes. And so there I agree with you totally. And I think that because of movies like this, and that's what their purpose is for, is to generate that conversation. We need to be able to, first of all, not be afraid of it. I like what you said before about the misinformation or disinformation that is possible. That's the world we live in today. Mm-hmm. You know, when we look at, I'm a political junkie. When we look at what's going on in the politics of this nation, you said it best. You said, as long as you can see God in your Christian brother and your Muslim brother, sister, what the politics of this nation through disinformation is, they're making everybody else the other. Mm-hmm. And that's where we're falling apart. We do not respect each other for the people that we are.
And that's straight from the pit of hell. That's the enemy trying to divide and conquer, trying to make each other hate each other. And all I got to say, even when it comes to the different religions and everything else like that, because I've got plenty of coworkers and friends and people that I know of all different religions and faiths and beliefs, and and all I can say is this: is I know that the scripture that and Jesus said himself, there are still others that aren't amongst our tribe that I still have to gather, and just like Jesus touched me and opened my eyes when I was 40, as I told y'all before, he can do that with anybody. So, and it ain't a matter of, well, you're lost and you're this and you'll never be. No, I ain't got nothing to do with that. And like you said, our job is to love and to see God in everybody because everybody is God's child. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I guess all I want to say with this whole book is that, or this whole movie, The Book of Clarence, is that, we have to be able to discern and look at it for what it is, and don't give it something else that ain't necessarily so.
So basically what she said.
Yeah, pretty much.
What she said.
She sums it up pretty much.
This movie is not a Christian movie. I mean, look at it, but recognize that it's not a Christian movie.
Well, I guess we all in agreement.
And we don't have to be offended.
We don't.
Because it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was great.
Yeah.
Y'all heard that, right?
We should do more movie reviews.
Yes.
Who was them? Oh, y'all would never remember these names. Why am I even bringing that up?
Are you talking about Ebert?
Oh my God!
Ebert?
Oh, how do you remember this?
I'm a movie junkie.
Okay, well,
They used to do movie reviews.
He used to do. With a T, they used to do movie reviews, and man,
It was like Sunday nights or something like that. It was
Before right after the movie first come out.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Siskel and Ebert.
You see, you got to open up some. There's so much life that you have not experienced yet.
I know. That's when that was good stuff.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what. I do agree. You may not want to go to the theater and spend $45 to see it.
It's not worth that. Don't even do it.
You might want to wait till it comes out on cable. But no, we recommend that you do see it because, and for the simple reason, if nothing else, because there will be conversations like this
to be able to
and there will be
intelligently engage in the conversation.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And there will be people that will have questions.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
and it will bring some people to the table that wouldn't have come before.
That's right.
And when they get there, what you going to give
Be
them?
prepared.
Serve them.
Yep. Serve them, exactly.
What you going to give them? So, so in that sense, I do agree with that. What's your health moment for this?
Hey,
That's a segue.
That's what I want to hear. What's your health moment for this, brother?
Okay, so
talk about that medical marijuana. No.
Well,
Yes.
No, don't do that.
Don't do that.
No, do that.
Hey,
Do
trust
that.
me, I won't do the whole bowel movement thing again.
Oh, God.
That was just not well received. No.
That medical marijuana.
No, the thing for our health moment. Once again, people, let's be honest. We got to be really, really cognizant of mental health and the impact that it has. So if we look around us today, not even today, but even in this movie, The Book of Clarence, you saw in some of the scenes where the women were pretty much debasing themselves at that club, in the nightclub scene. Mm-hmm. And we see that kind of stuff even today. But that's all bad because of poor self-esteem, poor self-worth. And along with that comes mental debilitation. So when you see people, when we see our friends out there and we have a feeling that they're not quite right, I'm not saying that you can fix them, but definitely suggest to them to go and see a therapist, to talk to a minister, or if they're willing to talk to you, be ready to listen. That is so important. A lot of times when it comes to mental health, you'll be surprised the cathartic nature of just speech. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That does a lot. Except you can't talk to yourself. You can't talk to a wall. You have to talk to somebody that's receptive in the speech. If they think that you're important enough in their life to share their troubles with you, be that friend to at least listen, and listen with both ears. That's my health moment.
Now, Brother Roy, I have two things on that real quick.
Yes,
I can't talk to myself.
You know, Actually, I talk to myself, but see, I'm a very intelligent person.
That's
So
what I'm
when I speak to
saying.
myself, I get intelligent responses.
Yes, it's like
See,
a
now it
committee
depends on
meeting
how-
going on. Yeah.
Could I ask just a quick question?
No.
So when you mentioned there was some debasement going on in the movie of the women in the movie.
That's my number 2.
Can I get a example of that real quick? Just a quick example
Real quick.
of the debasement that you speak of.
Because that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, that's part 2 of
Lord
it.
help us, Lord.
Where the men and the women were dancing together.
Yeah, is that what you were referring to?
No, I thought there was a lot of this business trying to put out open sexuality. This openness of the sexual gyrations and stuff. I'm like, did we need this in there? I mean, what was it supposed to be? What was it supposed to be?
Certainly wasn't a Christian movie.
They were dancing.
I saw a similar routine on Bridgerton. So
Well,
they break out dancing.
Bridgerton.
which is also not a
She's
Christian
Anglophile.
thing.
Anglophile. But anyway, one thing I did like about that scene was the song behind it. That old school,
Like almost disco type.
That song was amazing.
yeah, that was
The Nights Over Eve.
I was trying to like Shazam it, but I couldn't even get
with
to.
that. When that came on, I was like,
You know what
oh,
disco
You like the
is?
music, huh?
Oh, yes.
Do you know? You know what disco is? No, I'm
Get up and
sorry.
walk out. I was trying to just like.
I'm joking with you right now.
But you know,
I couldn't let it slide.
I said,
Yeah, we both kind of looked at each other like, do you want it or should I?
but now, what are your closing thoughts? I mean, when we talk about this,
I think I love the word grabalicious. I think
That's a
if we
good
can
word,
stop being so grabalicious, trying to hold on and claim things that are not ours. I think oftentimes we are mocked in social media. We're mocked on TV shows because we give them things to mock. Other religions are not made fun of like the Christian faith has been made fun of.
100%.
And I think it's because we give them the examples to make fun of us. And that's a lack of discipline, lack of training, lack of studying. Book of Clarence, I found it to be entertaining. I enjoyed seeing people who looked like me set in that time because we did exist. And it's something I would definitely recommend once it came out on streaming. It wasn't life-changing for me, but I found it to be deeply entertaining.
not even the theater. But just to let you know, Grabalicious, we might get a whole new following behind that.
I'm saying Grabalicious.
It's a Jamaican term.
Okay.
that's a pretty debasing term. That's what that is. No.
This word is just getting
Now
thrown
you trying
around.
to use
This
big
is
words.
getting thrown around
Now you
today.
trying to use big words. You got to watch him.
I'm just trying to be venerable. You know what I'm saying?
You just step at that one word. Now
That
you
word
running with it.
debase is just getting thrown around now, like tossed up in the air and caught.
Just running around.
Yeah.
With stuff.
A lot of closing thoughts.
I pretty much echo what Phyllis said. I think it was a very entertaining movie. It was great music, great directing, great acting. Not life changing, like you said. I definitely walked away with some different thoughts on it than I had coming into this talk. So I'm definitely, I guess I've had some mind change about it. But I thought it was good, and I think that there's a lot to take from it as far as what we should and should not put in these kinds of movies going further in the future, and what challenges us to have those more difficult talks about what it is to be a Christian and what it means to follow Christ and that kind of stuff. So that's pretty much what I think about it.
Excellent. I mean, well, my closing thought is simple, is that it is your responsibility to understand and to question those things that you're looking at, and do not just take it
At
face value, and to research and to understand what it is that you're watching, and to know that there are hidden agendas between a whole lot of things, and it's your responsibility. Nobody can tell you. And just because somebody says something doesn't mean it's so. And so we have a responsibility, and just like you said, who said it's a Christian movie? Well, there's people that are saying that, but that doesn't necessarily mean it is. And so it's on you, and also to know what it is you're talking about. So I've done research, and I've looked at some of them. I've educated myself some more on some of these other things that they touched on, and I think that's going to help me in the long run. So I just pray that everybody does that also.
Yeah.
Well, Mine's very simple. One of the fruits of the Holy Spirit is discernment. And so we should always pray and ask for that spirit of discernment. Because you're right. There's a whole lot of stuff out there. And if we're not careful, we'll fall prey to just about anything. And so we got to be mindful of where we go, who we speak to, and what is said to us. So,
Awesome.
the movie was so. I tell you the honest truth. The best part of the movie was that little popcorn, whatever that thing was, expensive.
$30 popcorn. But you know what? And I guess that's it. Right now, you know what? I feel a dance coming on, just like in that scene in the movie. Y'all ready?
I'm not got to dance. I mean, I'll just
I don't want to gyrate.
exactly, yeah.
Don't be debasing up in there.
That's myself.
Yeah.
Hey, we're so glad that y'all joined us for the TY, the Fame TVM podcast.
We got to see y'all the next time another movie like this comes.
Yes, you will. Yes, for sure. You will.
1, 2, 3.
Told ya.